Hello friends! I wanted to come on and talk to you today about the importance of eating imperfectly in recovery. Eating imperfectly, challenging food perfectionism, dismantling that pedestal of perfection that is brought about by food restriction. These were absolutely crucial components of my recovery journey, and I include eating imperfectly as one of the pillars of the actioning abundance approach that I took in order to get fully free. And I wanted to come on today and share with you some of the practical ways in which I made this happen. Firstly, though, let's bounce back to that concept of the pedestal of perfection. When food becomes a resource that is perceived by the body to be scarce, food becomes the central focus for your body and your brain. And this is really smart. Biologically, physiologically, that makes a lot of sense. But the reality is, from a lived experience perspective, that often can result in feeling like food is the center of your world. Like food and what you're going to eat, what other people are choosing, is the center of plans and thoughts about the future, the past. It becomes the center of everything. And as I say, that makes a lot of sense biologically. Food is crucial to survival, and when that resource becomes scarce or is perceived to be scarce by your engagement in restriction, that is something that is very stressful to the body, and it makes sense for it to put that resource up on a pedestal. Another way that this pedestal of perfection can show up from a lived experience perspective is in a sense of food being really important. A sense of each meal being approached as if it might be the last one. And this could be something that feels very conscious to you, or it could be something that actually is very subconscious. But my experience with this was I recognized I needed not just the food to be right, but I needed and wanted the environment around each meal, each snack, each time I was eating to be right. I wanted the boxes ticked prior to going into that meal. I wanted the people that I was with to be neutral or in a good mood. I wanted the setting to be correct. I wanted the way that the food was served and made to be as I expected or right. I wanted it to be right and perfect. And the reality is that was because my body was hungry. And if you are relating to this, I want you to know that this is a really common shared experience in an energy deprived state. When your body is in a state of scarcity, when your body is being restricted of food, when your body is starved, it goes into every eating opportunity as if it might be its last. It goes in with food right up on that pedestal, wanting everything to be just so. And all of the disordered rules and all of the tendrils of eating disorder overlap with this very natural biological response to create this mass of complexity, this mass of perfectionism, this mass of needing everything to be just so in order to be able to have the meal, in order to be able to enjoy the meal. And I remember being in that place. And I remember how, one, exhausting it was. Two, how supportive of eating disorder rule and ritual it was. And three, how much it got in the way of being able to be free and flexible and spontaneous and at peace around and with food. The sun is coming. It's chasing me, guys. I keep shuffling. It's glorious. I don't know what everyone else's weather in the world is like right now, but it's been very wet here. We now have glorious sunshine, which is wonderful, except if I sit here, I'm literally going to do the entire thing squinting at you. So I have to keep shuffling this way, but the sun is chasing me, which I'm not going to complain about, sun. I'm not complaining. Keep doing your thing. I'm just going to keep shoveling over this way. So in short, restriction places food on a pedestal of perfection. And in recovery, dismantling that pedestal of perfection by proactively eating imperfectly is absolutely crucial, both from a nutritional rehabilitation perspective and from a neural rewiring perspective too. Now, in terms of the practical actioning of this, as I alluded to a moment ago, it's not just about the food. It's not just about what you are having. It's also about where you are having it, when you are having it, the environment in which you are having it, and the state that you or the people around you are in when you are having it. There are so many ways in which that pedestal of perfection can show up, and therefore there are lots and lots of ways in which you can be really bold and proactive in dismantling it. Some examples of this that really stand out to me in my journey were proactively choosing things that I didn't like or didn't think I liked. Proactively not specifying, I want that one. I noticed in myself this tendency, if I went into a bakery, to say, I want that one there, exactly that one. And part of this was rigidity and control, but part of it was also that pedestal of perfection. And this often showed up particularly around the foods which my eating disorder disapproved of. So if I was pushing and being bold, I would notice this pedestal of perfection coming in the form of wanting the one that I picked to be the best one there. And actually part of recovery for me was resisting that urge to specify which one and actually allowing it to just be whatever. Equally, if I'd asked someone, my mum, Andrew, to pick something up at the shop for me, if when they presented it to me, I thought, oh, that one's a bit squished or a bit flat or a bit stale or not actually the flavour that I wanted, I would often experience this huge wave of, no, I don't want it, no, just this huge wave of resistance and anger and everything towards that. And actually what I had to do was lean into it. I had to say yes to that. I had to have it because it was imperfect. And the reality in recovery is that if something is challenging and also imperfect, it is a double whammy win. And so this was something that was really important in my recovery journey. Also, as I said, it's not just about the what. Yes, I had to eat the things that I didn't really like or didn't really fancy. Yes, I had to pull back from that drive to specify the one that I wanted. Yes, I had to follow through with things when actually it hadn't come to the table as I expected it to be, or what I'd been presented wasn't what I thought it was going to be, or was a bit stale or a bit flat, or like the icing had got stuck to the box, or whatever it might have been, whatever form of imperfection, I had to challenge that with opposite action. But also, I had to challenge those other ways. So this could look like changing the setting in which I was eating, going into a different room, going into a different seat. I had to have meals way earlier than I wanted them to be. I had to eat in places in the house that felt wrong or ugh. And also, I had to challenge the environment in terms of people in that space. I acknowledged that I liked it to be a quiet space. What I didn't like is if somebody wanted something different on the telly, if there was just general chaoticness going on, if people were, heaven forbid, having some kind of confrontation or disagreement. I just felt about that. And so actually what I had to do was challenge that aspect of things as well. I had to eat the food. I had to honour my hunger in the environments, in the states that didn't feel right. And that included both other people, but also for myself. I had to challenge that desire to have the boxes ticked. I had to challenge eating without those boxes ticked. Frankly, I had to chuck the boxes away, but that's a different topic of a different video. But I had to challenge it. I had to challenge eating when I was feeling crap. I had to challenge eating right after I just had some form of disagreement with someone. I had to challenge eating when I felt really stressed. I had to challenge eating when I didn't feel particularly well. I had to challenge eating in all of the various different states, both of my own emotions and other people's. I had to challenge it in the environment. I had to challenge the what. And I also had to challenge perfectionism around the way things were made. So this included letting other people cook and serve and not micromanaging. Because let's remember, at the end of the day, if you recognize that one of the ways you need to challenge imperfection in your recovery is by having other people take the reins, other people picking where to go, other people cooking, what you mustn't do is outsource your disordered behavior to them. I absolutely had to call this out in myself, because I could get very much on my recovery high horse thinking, I'm doing it, I'm letting them cook. But actually, I was hovering around and making constant eating disorder related suggestions for why they were doing this and what about this and had they thought of this. Or I'd said, oh, you pick. But then I was continually sending them places, being like, what about this one, this is a good place. And the reality was, it was disorder. It was the attempt to be, yes, doing it, but actually just trying to outsource the disordered choices and actions to someone else, trying to get Andrew, my mum, my sister, to be cooking in a way that the eating disorder was more approving of, trying to get them to pick a place that in some way met eating disorder criteria or created or allowed scope for eating disorder approved choices. I had to call that out. And so there were lots and lots of different ways in which I practiced imperfection in recovery and used those things to dismantle that pedestal of perfection. And the final thing that I want to add before I wrap this up and then go and lie in the sunshine, a meter to my right, is the importance of being both reactive and proactive with this. In my recovery journey, I had to lean into the opportunities that arose. I had to lean into the places and the spaces where I could say yes, and actually that would lead to me doing the things I needed to do for recovery. But I also had to be proactive. I had to self-direct opportunities. I had to make it happen for myself. Remember, at the end of the day in recovery, you are the pilot. And that means that it is your responsibility to do the work. That doesn't mean you have to do it on your own. Absolutely, you can lean into the people around you. Lean into the opportunities that arise. Say yes to those things. But it isn't enough to just wait for these things to happen. You have to go and make them happen. You have to seek out imperfection proactively. And I really encourage you to be both reactive and proactive in dismantling that pedestal of perfection. So I am going to wrap it up now. If I have to shuffle any further this way, I am going to be in the dog bed. Thank you so much, as always, for listening and supporting me on this channel. I am hoping to be able to keep sharing certainly a couple of times every month, but I have an exam coming up in a few weeks' time, and so I'm basically just coming on when I have the space and the energy to be able to bring to you what I want to be able to bring. So I hope that you have found this video helpful today. Please do let me know in the comments below if there's any other topics or questions that you have that you'd like me to explore. Really, really keen to continue sharing on this platform because I really love the little community that we are creating, and I really love being able to use my experience to share with you. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a really wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.